Hi, my name's Hudson, and I'm a geoholic.
Just a quick note to express our appreciation for the 2021 Friends of the Program for their continued support. Please consider their products and services as they have special promos for Geoholics listeners. Aerotech Mapping Inc., ATMLV.com. Advanced Geodetic Surveys Inc., AGSGPS.com. Bad Elf GPS, bad-elf.com. Cobb Fenley, cobbfenley.com. Cyanic Automation, cyanicautomation.com. Diamondback Land Surveying, diamondbacklandsurveying.com. Get Kids Into Survey, getkidsintosurvey.com. Land Surveyors United, landsurveyorsunited.com. Mentoring Mondays, mentoringmondays.xyz. Monson Engineering, monsonengineering.com. Parkland Community College, parkland.edu/land-surveying. Safety Apparel, safetyapparel.us. And last but not least, Tiger Supplies, tigersupplies.com. Such a great song. Hello, Geoholics. I believe that song was released like in 1975, something like that. Am I the only one that was born?
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. Even for me. Yes.
Oh my God, man, how the world has changed, right? Crazy. So on a much lighter note, thanks for being here, everybody. We are coming to you from the Diamondback Land Surveying Studio. And what a show we've got lined up this week. I have to mention that this is the last episode, sans Buttermaker Shoots, as he has just about completed his coaching commitment for the season. So by the way, PJ, I may or may not have committed us to attending Huddy's last game.
I'd love to.
Which is next week. So we got to carve out time to do that.
Cool.
So it should be fun. Sitting in for Big Shoots this week is none other than the legend himself, the OG friend of the program, Mr. Trent Keenan. Trent, thanks for being here, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yep. And we have episode 81. So it's my understanding that you have something or somebody lined up for number 81.
So in Big Shoots' absence, he was nice enough to give me a pick. Tonight's pick is Tim Brown, 1988 first round pick, number 6 overall for the Oakland Raiders out of Notre Dame, which is now the Las Vegas Raiders. Nice fitting tie there. Heisman Trophy winner of 1987, 9-time Pro Bowler, NFL's 1990s All-Decade Team, and the 2009 College Hall of Fame and 2015 NFL Hall of Fame inductee. So pretty good stuff there. I did look up one more little thing on him, and he actually did not even play high school football his freshman year because his mom would not allow it.
Wow.
To get started that late and have the accolades that he does.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And actually, I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good.
Right.
I had no idea. I didn't even know he was in the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. But
Good stuff.
Good choice. And I like the tie with the Raiders. That was,
I thought that was perfect. Good job, Shoots.
For sure. So real quick, we've got a ton to unravel this evening. So I want to mention that all 3 Geoholics branded Bills hats are available for purchase at geoholics.com. So shipping is included.
Nice.
So don't let the price scare you when you look at it. Purchasing one of these limited edition, one-time only, highly sought after Geoholics lids, as the kids say, you will not regret it. And as I mentioned, shipping is included. PJ, tell us about that opening number.
All right, guys, that was Sister Golden Hair by America. So America is a rock band that was formed in London in 1970 by Dewey Bunnell, Dan Peake, and Gary Beckley. Achieving significant popularity in the 1970s, the trio is famous for its close vocal harmonies and light acoustic folk rock sound. The group continues to record material and tour with regularity. America won a Grammy Award for Best New Artist and were nominated for Best Pop Vocal Group at the 15th Annual Grammy Awards in 1973. The group was inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 2006 and received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2012.
I didn't even know they had Grammy Awards in 1973.
Me neither.
So funny. Oh man, it's a great song though. Great choice by our guest this evening. Shout out to this week's featured friend of the program. We are up to Bad Elf, I believe. TK, what do you got for Bad Elf?
So Bad Elf LLC envisions, designs, and manufactures niche hardware and software by mixing decades of experience and expertise in enabled hardware, firmware, middleware, and application software.
That's a lot of wear.
It's a lot of wear. Bad Elf specializes in affordable and reliable high-performance GNSS receivers for GIS mapping and field data collection. All their products are lightweight, portable, and provide a battery life of 24 hours for a full day of data collection activities. Bad Elf products work with Esri collectors, Survey 123, and most any location-based app in the iTunes Store or the Google Play Store. They are developing low-cost, high-accuracy GPS receivers for all-day data collection. Reach out to Dr. Nick Smilowski at nik@bad-elf.com or visit their website at bad-elf.com. Mention that you heard him about the Flex receiver on the Geoholics and receive $100 off your purchase and the highly coveted fitted Bad Elf hat.
They are really cool hats also.
It's a good.
Do you get a Geoholics hat too? I might be in it if I got a Geoholics hat.
There you go.
We can make that
We
happen.
might
That's
have to
right.
partner
We
up.
can make that happen. I know.
There you go.
$100. Let's give them $200 off. What do you say?
There you go.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Yeah. I got a quick bit about Bad Elf here too. Dr. Nick was nice enough to give me one of those Bad Elf, and we went out and took it out to San Diego, and we were sailing around, and I had it strapped to the side of the boat, and it tracked us when we were sailing out there. So cool that like obviously you can use it in like the professional space, but in the marine industry and stuff, you can go use it for recreation. So
I actually have a worse story. So Nick sent me one to my office
Uh-oh.
about 2 weeks ago. I gave it to 3 different guys at the office, and they all said, "I'm too busy to deal with this." And so they slammed the door shut, didn't even bother to try it. So
Oh, geez.
I brought
you
it
should
back.
take it
I
out
brought
to
it
San
back
Diego
tonight.
and sail with it.
I brought it back tonight.
Man,
I know it's horrible, but I did tell Nick I'm going to have to fly him up, and he's just going to have to give us a
Oh,
live
man.
promotion there.
Yeah.
So to make up for his 2 weeks of lost.
Yeah, for sure. I've had some hands-on experience with the Flex receiver, and it's pretty slick. There's no doubt about it. So anybody listening, if you have not yet given it a chance, I would definitely look into it. It's a low-cost survey-grade solution for sure.
Nice.
Where are we at? Weekly pod word. Before we get to this week's pod word, we must draw the winner of the April Listener Prize, which is a super cool frame survey performed and initialed by the one and only George Washington.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So the winner of this amazing prize is
Drum roll, please.
Joe Huff. Joe, we will be reaching out to you to make the necessary arrangements to get this awesome picture to you.
nice.
So this week's pod word, playing off Bad Elf, of course, is elfdom. And I'm not sure if it's a word, but I think the folks at Bad Elf are actually trying to trademark this. So again, the word is elfdom, ELFDOME. Easy to remember, right?
Love it.
All right, let's catch up with the fellas. PJ,
How's it going,
what's
guys?
going on, man?
Doing good. I saw an article today, and you might have seen this, and it really intrigued me. Did you see this space wine thing?
Space wine. Yes, I
Yes,
did.
you did, yeah.
I spent like 14 months in space, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yes.
they set up this crate of wine. It was some sort of, right? Everything they
Mhm.
sent up to the space station is an experiment.
Mhm.
And they were trying to see like how the atmosphere and like that, whatever that is, gravity and stuff would alter this. So it spent like 14 months in there. And I think they had is it like 12 or a dozen bottles or so?
Yeah.
And they all came back down and they made it all back. And that's a part of it right there. How do they come back to
Exactly.
and be like glass bottles? Like, so, but crazy. So yeah, they opened up a couple of them, I guess, and they had some wine experts taste it, and they said that the taste was, quote, slightly altered.
Really?
So I don't know what that means, better for worse, but pretty cool. And they're selling them right. One of them's right on.
I was gonna say they're auctioning them off or something. I
Yeah,
think.
Christie's. It's got it for like $1 million or something. It's got this real nice crate. But
That's crazy.
can you imagine buying that? What a great
Yeah.
What a novelty
You
piece.
can't open it. There's no way you could open it.
Right.
I
yeah.
don't know.
If I had to guess, slightly altered is not a good thing.
Yeah, after sitting I don't even know what would really change it though. But I don't know. I'm not a wine.
Yeah, that's
The
interesting.
gravity. I don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, Bad Elf, obviously, that was pretty cool that Nick sent me out that. I have the data. Nick, if you're listening, reach out. I'll send you this data. Maybe we can do something cool with it.
Yeah, for sure.
cool.
You'd love it.
But
That's awesome.
how about you?
Me? You want to go to me?
Oh, I'm
next?
sorry. Let's go
No,
to Trent. I
We'll
jumped
go
the
to
horn
me.
there.
No worries. So I just I spent the last weekend in St. George, had a little 20-man golf tournament, and Thursday we go up. I shoot a nice 84, feeling good. Friday, this goes off of your playing off of your comment last week that you want to go play golf.
Yeah.
And so Friday I go out, I'm feeling really good. Have a range sessions really good. Tee off. I shoot a 78, 4 birdies. Beautiful
Dang,
day.
Wow.
Nice.
Saturday morning, I forgot how to play golf.
Really?
I shot 109.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
I went from 100.
Same course?
Yeah, same course, same everything.
Isn't
I went,
that crazy?
I
how
went
that
from a
happens?
78 to a.
Wait, did you not sleep or something? Oh, you were hammered probably.
No, I
No?
didn't. I didn't. I had a couple
I mean,
old fashions, but it
What do you
wasn't.
think? I mean, what happened?
I couldn't figure it out. And I did that one other
Uh.
time. I did that one other time. I shot a 73 the day before my birthday a few years ago. And I shot the next day I went out and shot 101.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
I'd be lucky to shoot 101.
I
That
don't
is
even know how it
amazing.
happens. I don't even know how it happens. So
Golf
Does
is
it
such
make
a
you
crazy
angry?
game.
Does
I
it bother
know-
you?
no, I just laughed it off.
What does anything make
good for
you
you.
No, I can't.
Kent and I, on the other hand, might have
Yeah,
been
right.
so upset down.
Don't get us going.
I forgot.
Exactly.
I started talking
Exactly.
to Trent.
No, there's nothing you can do about it, right? You just kind of laugh.
You
it off.
really
Like I
can't,
can't figure it
yeah.
out. I have no
Yeah.
idea what's going on today.
Or
So,
you just be like me and shoot 105 every time.
yeah, see,
Yeah.
no expectations.
No
You're good.
expectations.
You're good.
Exactly.
All right. So what's up
Yeah.
with you?
Oh,
Dilf.
me. I think I saw a real live zombie today.
Okay.
I'm
Today?
serious. I
Should be a
swear to
good
God.
story.
Was he
Is it
here?
crazy? Yes.
Here?
No, not in the studio.
Oh.
But
I was gonna say shoots.
no, no. So my route to work, I go through like this unsavory part of town, right? And I don't have to go that way, but it's kind of like the shortest route, and it is pretty sketchy. It's like Sunny Slope area,
Okay.
and I mean the people I see on this on this journey of mine every single day to and from work are. I mean, first of all, it breaks my heart. There's no doubt about it. And the thing it does, honestly, is it kind of puts life into perspective for me. So like, even when I'm driving to work and I'm seeing these people, I'm like, my goodness, I'm so lucky, so blessed in so many ways. But I actually got scared today. I'm driving by and I saw this guy all dressed in black. His face is like painted black. I mean, he looked like a freaking zombie. I mean, I think it was a real life zombie. I don't know, but it didn't start my day off very well. I thought about it all day, and then I'm driving home. I'm like,
Do you do it? Do you circle back and get a double take, or
no? I
Too
didn't. I was
scared?
too scared. Yeah, I
Just keep
saw
driving.
this. I was like,
Put the
I'm like,
blinders on. Keep driving.
like, please tell me I didn't just see a zombie. I'm gonna just keep going. So
Tried to
but,
unsee what you'd seen.
I did. So on the way home, I'm like looking for this guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, hopefully he didn't see me. But yeah, no, it's crazy. But it is very humbling, and it really does put a perspective on my day. Like it puts me into perspective on the way to work. It puts me into perspective on my way home to work. And yeah, although it's very, very sad to see, but
Exactly.
it's a crazy world. All right. Safety Apparel Safety Share. TK, the spotlight is on you once again.
Once again, and I think Big Shoots just found the longest bio thing he could find. So
he does that every week?
Yeah, I know.
Summarize it.
Summarize it. So this is now what we call it last week, the safety share and other things we should worry about.
Yes. Good point. Yes.
So this week's one that
the
he
Captain
found.
Obvious.
Yes, exactly. Safety share and other things we should worry about is about machine guarding this week. So workers who operate and maintain machinery suffer approximately 18,000 injuries and over 800 deaths per year. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And machine safeguards are the first line of defense against injuries caused by moving machines. Machine guarding is a precautionary safety feature on the manufacturing or other engineering equipment. Specifically, it is a shield or device covering hazardous areas of the machine to prevent contact with the body parts or to control hazards like chips and or noise from exiting the machine. In order for machine guards to be effective, they must prevent contact, be secure in place, or otherwise tamper-proofed. And now I just zoomed out too far. And create a new hazard. Allow for lubrication of the guard still in place, and not interfere with the machine operation. It goes on for about 5 more paragraphs.
Hold on a second. I got to talk to Shoots about this. Who does this? Who relates to this?
You know what it makes me think of though? Have you ever seen those, really quick, not to get off topic, have you ever seen those blades where it's like a circular saw and it has like the tech where you like, if it touches your hand, it like automatically stops?
Yes.
How
Exactly.
crazy is
Amazing.
that?
It's amazing.
That used to be like,
Yeah.
blow my mind when I was little.
Yeah.
So-
Here's what it makes. Let's skip that. That's
no.
boring.
What honestly, I would say where it comes into play is for guys who lay out houses, right? And they have to do the
Okay.
curb scribes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you're doing a curb scribe in a subdivision, you
Put your
better
machine guard on.
put
Oh,
your
no,
machine guard
Put your
on.
eye guard on.
Yeah, there you go.
For
Put all your
sure.
PPE on, and Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of it keeps going and going. So big shoots. I'm sorry, I cannot fill
Shoots
the
that
1,000-word essay you gave me to talk about on machine guards.
Be safe, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
be safe.
Yeah.
Be safe.
It makes me think about like my dad when he was a kid. He worked construction, like starting from when he was 16 years old, and he had like a circular saw, right? And he was cutting some wood. Apparently, it was before I was born.
Yeah.
But the guard was up or something, and something slipped and it went like,
Oh.
right across his thigh.
Yeah.
And he literally had like 500 stitches across his
Oh,
thigh. Because
yeah.
I mean, he wasn't being careful.
Yeah.
But man, power tools and me do not mix.
So
I like avoid them at all costs.
the last paragraph says, "Do not self-adjust the guard." So
There you go.
We'll end it with that.
There you go.
Leave that to a professional.
That's right.
Don't drink while you're using power tools. That's
There you
my
go. That's a
safety
good start.
share right there. Yeah.
That's a good
Not
start.
a good idea. All right, cool. Let's get on with
All
our
right.
guests this evening. So this evening we have, and you've heard her voice a couple times already, Miss Amanda Allred. And of course, she is a PLS. A little bit about Amanda here. Born in Silver City, New Mexico, and was raised about 60 miles north in Glenwood, New Mexico, in the heart of the Gila Wilderness. Farmers and ranchers for 4 generations on both sides of her family ran cattle in the Blue Range primitive area in southeastern Arizona. So she has ties to Arizona as well. She attended New Mexico State University, go Aggies, in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the University of Alaska, Anchorage. I will give $50 to anybody that knows what the mascot is.
The herrings,
Nope.
I'm out.
Except for
buffalo,
Amanda. Except for Amanda. She doesn't
Yeah.
count.
buffalo.
Nope. The sea wolves.
Oh.
Yeah. What is a
Universe-
sea wolf? Is that even a thing?
That's a mythical creature.
It's a Disney thing for sure. The one thing is, I don't know if you guys knew this. Amanda, I will be really impressed if you knew this. A notable alumnus is Vicky Persinger. Do you know who she is?
I don't know. Who is
Well,
that?
I'm going to tell you. She's a 2-time U.S. national curling champion.
That's
a curling
that's
tie.
why.
Yep.
Okay.
And a University of Alaska Anchorage alumnus. So there you have it. Amanda has a BS in surveying engineering from New Mexico State University and an associate's in geomatics from University of Alaska Anchorage. She is the district land surveyor for the United States Army Corps of Engineers in Walla Walla, Washington. I've always loved that name. That's awesome. Walla Walla, Washington. Amanda and her husband own and maintain a 40-acre farm in southeastern Washington State. Her career highlights include she's been named to the, is it XYHT or is it Excite magazine?
XYHT.
XYHT top 40
Yes.
under 40 list.
Yeah.
She's the NSPS Western States Council chairman. I think they should change that to chairperson, by the way. She's
They
received
should.
a certification from Cornell University in Women in Leadership in 2019. NSPS Vice President 2020-2021. Helped start the Diversity Committee with NSPS in 2020. Started the Surveyor Shop 2020 for promoting diversity in land surveying, and a CST board member for 3 years. So just when you think like you've accomplished a lot, humility shows up in the form of someone like Amanda. You know what I mean? Right?
Exactly.
So welcome, Amanda, to the Geoholics. Thank you so much for risking your professional reputation by joining us. I'm kidding about that.
It's a huge risk. But
It really is.
Trent was going to be here, so I figured, it would be halfway. Okay.
Yeah, it would be at least a little bit serious.
That's right.
Right.
I'll keep it in check.
He's
best I
the
can.
voice of reason this evening.
Give me one of these, Trent.
There you
if,
go.
If it's going awry. I'll
All right,
push
you
the
got it.
leave Button.
You got it.
Leave.
Oh my God. All right. So I got to ask you, Amanda, with everything that you've accomplished to date, and you're still pretty young, let's face it. So what are you most proud of?
Oh, for sure the diversity work.
Yep.
For sure.
Cool.
It's, it's near and dear to my heart. And the things that happen to minorities and to women in this industry is atrocious. And I experience it weekly. I've been called a squaw. I've been told I will never go out in the field. I've been taken off of committees, and I've been and those are just within the last year.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we have a long way to go, but I am most proud of the fact of the people that get involved with that, and Trent Keenan is one of them, and he is the reason that my diversity campaign got started off, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate his friendship,
Of course.
and I'm so glad that he will be taking it over because I'm old and tired. So, and my health hasn't been the best in the last 3 months, and so I'm really most passionate about the diversity. and helping minorities and women in this profession.
Well, I mean, the passion is, very apparent, and, to hear those stories is quite frankly horrific. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but I appreciate you sharing that and, not being afraid to become emotional about it, because it's obviously something that is very, very near and dear to your heart. So I appreciate that. So let's discuss briefly. I mean, most people probably listening have heard your story because you've been on a number of podcasts, and you put yourself out there, and there's just a lot of information out there about you. But so how did you get introduced to surveying? And I'd like to, and once you talk about that, I'd like to talk about the evolution of the profession since you committed to making a career. But how did you get started?
Sure. Yeah. I went to New Mexico State. I was passionate about working at the dams on the Snake River of all places, because I visited this area with my grandmother when I was 16. That was the first major trip I took out of New Mexico. And she had family around Kennewick, around Tri-Cities. And so we visited this area, and we actually visited a number of the dams on the Snake River. And I really became passionate about dams and about water, and about because as you all know, being from the Southwest and from the desert, water is everything to us. And it was so fascinating to me that this was such an arid area, but the amount of water they had to utilize to farm was, it was just mind-boggling to me for a girl from Glenwood, New Mexico. And so I didn't know what the Corps of Engineers was, but I really wanted to work for them at some point. And I went to New Mexico State University, and I started out in civil engineering, but I quickly realized that civil engineers are a dime a dozen, and they don't build dams anymore. So there's not a lot of huge structures being put in, in the United States anymore. There's maintenance, but there's not a lot of huge structures. And so I turned over to surveying because I had an opportunity to go to Alaska. And that was one of my other big dreams, was to go and work in Alaska. And so that's how I got sucked over into the surveying engineering side.
Yeah. So let's talk just a little bit. I'm sure you can go into great detail about this, but talk about some of the main things in regards to, the evolution of the profession since you, like I said, committed to making it a career.
Yeah, I think it has come a long way. We were it seems funny with the backpacks of the GPS, but working for the BLM when I first did that first summer in 1997, we were doing all conventional, and they were testing with GPS. And so we would shoot, I remember being kicked out of a boat on a rock and shooting about 5 or 6 mile shots, with these huge prisms. And then they would get out the GPS, and they were testing the GPS to see if it would match, and so that's where we were at in the late 90s. They were trying to convince themselves that the BLM, that GPS was going to be okay and it was going to work. It wasn't just this magic box. And so we ran everything we ran through the forest down there with the native land claims and the native allotments and the state parks and things was all conventional. So, and I feel blessed to have been able to do that, because now sometimes when we get our crews in and they can't find a prism across a dam, I can kind of help and show them, how you line things up and how you pay attention. And it's an art form. It's a skill that's kind of gone by the wayside, which is unfortunate, and I'm glad that I got enough in on the back end of it that I do have those skills that I can find a prism at, a few miles away, and, and watch the prism move. You don't just stand there and, play on your phone and forget where the prism's at. You got to watch the guy with it, so.
Yeah, for sure. And not a lot of people have had the experience of doing something like that either.
Not much anymore. That's very good points, I would say, especially when it comes to the prism side.
So, I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about the diversification side of things, but, as far as the evolution for the time that you've been involved in the profession, a lot of it revolves around the technology for sure. So, obviously, made it clear already that, being a female in a male dominated profession has presented its challenge. And, one of the many things I respect about you is that you have personally taken it upon yourself to not just shine a light on these challenges, but actually, try to make a difference, and not just for, surveyors now, but for future generations. So talk about these efforts and the positive results you are seeing in the diversification side of the surveying profession.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to see it, because my boss here at the Corps of Engineers in Walla Walla, she worked here for 30 years, and she was really a pioneering woman to be doing these things. And I know what It's better for me because she was here. And I hope for it to be better for the people that are coming behind me. The interesting thing about harassment and the overall meanness of people is that it didn't occur to me when I was in New Mexico, because everybody knew my family. Everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew whose daughter I was. Everybody knew whose granddaughter I was. So I didn't experience these things until actually I left New Mexico and I went to Alaska. And then bad things started happening because there's no accountability when you're a stranger. There's no accountability when you're new to an area. And that's where we have to, I think, as coworkers and as just good human beings, is stand up for one another, you know, and say, no, this is wrong. This should not happen. And the other part of that, along with the Army, is that these situations get brushed under the rug a lot sometimes, and I'm glad to see the Army take a different stance on them, and that they're trying to be more proactive and trying to make a difference. No woman or anybody should feel scared at work, and that's what I want to help other people with. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I know for a fact that your story is not the only one like it. You know, we've had some other ladies on that have shared, you know, the different experiences that they've had, and with technology and everything else. I mean, this form of harassment the harassment can come in many different forms, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's scary. It's scary, and we're not going to change it overnight. And we just need to keep talking about it, and we need to keep, you know, just keep moving it forward, I guess.
You know, and I've got a great story to tell you though too. The last time I flew down to Arizona, I was sitting next to a lady that has worked in construction for, you know, well over 30 years. She supplies large amounts of materials to huge contractors. And I was sitting next to her in first class, and I started asking her, do you think things are good? Have they changed over your 30 years? And she said, they've come a long way, but they could get better. And then I looked at her, and then I looked at all the crew members, because I fly Alaska all the time. Every single crew member was a male, and there was two of us sitting in first class, and they were serving us. And so I said, well, maybe things are getting a hair better, you know, because look at the dynamic that has shifted here. And not that I think that's indicative of the changing times for everybody, that men cannot play the roles they want to play too, you know, and these aren't just male or female roles, that I can be a land surveyor and anybody else can be a flight attendant if that's what they want to do, you know. And it was a great feeling to have that moment with her, that that maybe things are getting better, you know. So
yeah, I don't think there's shouldn't be gender specific, you know, careers, right? I mean, that persona needs to go away. And I think eventually we're going to get there. And, you know, obviously you started the first step in creating the diversity program and that kind of stuff, and getting the voices out there and getting it talked about and getting it in the forefront. And so it's, like we said earlier, it's going to take years, and it eventually will get there, but we're just.
And I hope it's better for your daughter too, Trent, because I know you're really passionate about her as well.
Absolutely. Exactly.
My stepdad worked for me for a number of years, and when people would walk into my office, they would beeline for him. And you know, when I was 26 and I was first licensed, these things really bothered me. But then the older I got, I was like, they can go talk to him and I can actually get some work done. This isn't a bad thing, you know. But even when he would try to tell them, you know, I'm not the PLS, she is, you need to go talk to Amanda about that, they would look at me and then they would go back to talk to him, you know. And that's just going to take time. It's going to take time and distance, you know, to get that into people's minds, that different people can have different roles.
I personally think it's definitely a generational thing.
For sure.
You know, I mean,
sure.
I hate to say it, but as like these folks that, I guess I'm talking about males, retire and are no longer part of the profession, and these younger generations, you know, kind of make their way up, I think it's going to change. There's no doubt about it. I think it's going to change.
It just needs a stronger voice. I mean, the girls have to push back, and I'll tell you, even it happened last night on the Mentoring Mondays program. So we had kind of our open session, and there was some, you know, younger generation females on there versus some older guys. And, you know, I will say she stood up and kind of just was like,
Really?
hold on, give me a second. Can you stop answering and let me finish my
Wow.
question? So
Yeah.
it's going to take the girls to have the confidence to step forward. Right. And
Good for her.
right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
come forward. And just kind of, there's nothing wrong with, can you let me finish my question? Right. There's nothing wrong.
Right. And she did
That's-
post
yeah.
on the Women in Serving Summit group, and she had mentioned something that happened on there. And
Okay.
and you know,
Wow.
it takes time. It does
Exactly.
take time, because when I was the Western Regional Chairman, I got hushed in my own meeting. I got told to be quiet in my own meeting.
Wow.
And I don't think that would have happened to a man, you know. And I was so shocked at the time. I even apologized at the time. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then I was like, "Oh, why did I say I'm sorry?" You know, later,
Yeah.
the director from Hawaii was with me, and she's like, "Don't apologize, Amanda." She's like,
Yeah.
"That caught you off guard. Don't apologize. It's all right." But to be hushed in your own meeting and told to be quiet in your own meeting when you're the chairperson,
That's a problem.
That's awful.
That's a problem.
That's terrible. Why do you think this movement is finally, like, obviously just in the last 2 years, like maybe having a stronger voice? It seems like, you know, I mean, it's been an issue for forever, but just over the last couple of years, I think that it's really come to the forefront, especially in land surveying.
Mhm.
You know, whether it be, you know, gender diversification, age diversification, whatever. But why do you think this is happening now?
In my
you know,
mind,
for me,
the push.
oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Trent.
I was going to say pushing the STEM, right? So we're getting more females involved in the STEM part of the profession. And so there's just more and more women involved in the profession. And so again, going back, getting the girls to have stronger confidence. And I just put an ad out in that same magazine, that article that we wrote, but the article had my daughter, and then it was like, you know, take charge and don't apologize for it. Right. I mean, that's the way women should think.
Yep.
So
But I think it has to do with their upbringing too, though.
of course.
Like, I mean, you raised your daughter to be a strong person.
100%. Yep.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
You know, and that's a lot of the generational problem there, because me in the early 80s in that area, I was raised by my grandparents, and I was told to behave and to be kind and to be quiet, and that's not a bad thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But now we're coming into the end of it, and as far as being a millennial there, and you get angry after a while, and you get tired, and I don't want to be angry and tired my whole life, but at 40, I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
And in particular, I'm tired of saying that everything's okay when it's not, you know.
Mhm.
I have a lot of hope, because gentlemen like you give me a lot of hope that you're kind and you're inclusive, and you're not the stereotypical people that get the industry in trouble. But there's so much good out there as well, and I don't want to harp on all the bad, but I'm tired of just acting like everything's hunky dory when it's not anymore, you know. So
Yep, for sure. On a positive note, and speaking of inclusion, tell us a little bit about the hashtag I am a surveyor movement that you started.
yeah, so it's been about a year. It was about a year at this time when we were all sitting, you know, in our homes, staring at our screens, not talking to one another, and all these horrible things were happening on TV to people around us, and then the George Floyd thing really struck a chord with me, and at that time I thought, I started thinking about how women and minorities are treated in the land surveying profession, and I one of the things that I was telling you about with my stepfather and I would tell people I am a surveyor, and they would look at me and go, kind of like the dumb dog look, and then look at him and then start talking to him again, and I'd be like, no, I am a surveyor. And so that's where the this is what a surveyor looks like campaign came from. These are stickers that were sent all over the world, thanks to Trent and a lot of other good donors and some Instagram friends I had that were mailing them out. And the send in the drones, the surveyor I am, and the different ones with the different colors were all meant for different people. This is the black and brownish one, and I also did one in white, and one in army green for the veterans, and for people coming in from the military side, because I was able to hire 4 or 5. Actually, they were Iraq veterans, and Desert Storm veterans, and those guys were the best help I ever had. And then working at the Army as well, I'm really passionate about helping veterans, and I think that surveying fits in so well with them and what they're doing, because they show up, they're on time, they're respectable, they're kind, and they're courteous, and they're excited about what they do. And so that's where it started. But Trent Keenan was really the most, when I started the surveyor shop, he gave the biggest donation. Not that that's always but
Do my part.
I'm telling you, that guy is he's a gem. And I really appreciated his passion and for helping get these things out. And we actually did some t-shirts as well, and they said this is what a surveyor looks like, with the hashtag women who survey on the back of them. And these are really popular. They got a lot of traction, and I did sweatshirts as well. But that's kind of where it all started off from. It's just making a statement, just so you could put, there's a great gal from Wanda Martinez that put this on her pink hard hat, and she's from Georgia, I think, but originally from Puerto Rico. And she has this on her hard hat, and it was to start a conversation. And so if somebody sees this, or sees this and can say to you, if you have it on your water bottle, what is that about? What does that mean to you? You can talk about surveying. You can talk about what you do as a profession, that I am a surveyor, and STEM and geomatics and land surveying, and about all these things. These were conversation starters. And so when people would ask for one, I would send them two. So they would put one on their water bottle, and then they would give one to the person that asked them about it. So.
So awesome. Trent, it's an honor to know you, my friend. I'm serious, man. I mean, I'm not going to get like all mushy or anything, but I mean, like, you and I have become really good friends over the course of the last couple of years, you know, and I mean, I tell people all the time, I mean, nobody does more for this profession than Trent Keenan.
He's a monument in the industry for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
Just do my part. Whatever we can do to promote positive light, right?
Exactly.
Positive light in the profession. So and
Exactly.
bring positive awareness. So
Yeah.
whatever we can do, and
For sure.
and I'll support any way we can, financially,
So that's
marketing,
yeah.
whatever.
So that's
As
where we're
always.
at now, and I'm going to be shipping all these stickers to Mentoring Mondays, so that they'll be able to distribute them
Nice.
and step up on it. My I have my husband also has cancer right now, and we got our hands full, and so I'm glad that this campaign will be in good hands. So.
I will take care of it for you. I will continue your passion. Between Heather and I, will continue the passion for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of your husband, I know that that you guys have got a lot of support from the survey profession, you know, with your husband being ill and stuff like that. So, you know, I'd be happy for you to, you know, talk about that if you'd like, but also talk about, you know, in your opinion, what makes surveying a great profession. I'm going to call it a profession. Some might argue call it a trade. Some might just call it an occupation, but what makes it a great profession?
I really think that what makes it a great profession is that you can do as much or as little with it as your heart desires. You know, there's Trent shared that video with us about the gentleman in Florida who decided to leave land surveying. But I kind of feel like the profession might have been better off without the people that don't have the heart and the guts to stick it out for just a little while longer, you know, because I think if you're into immediate gratification, land surveying probably isn't for you. But if you're into working hard and trying, I think the sky is the limit for where you can go and what you can do. You will find a great company and great people that will take care of you and help you grow into anything you want to be. So that's really where that's at. And my husband, with his cancer, I think it has really been our contacts across the country that have helped us. I had to go to some meetings in Washington, D.C., and our friends in Arizona, Harold and Mary Baldwin, actually came from Sanders and sat with him at the Mayo Clinic while I went back east and handled some surveying stuff. And the instances of that are so numerous, but that's the main one that sticks out to me, that that kind of love. So.
Yep. I just wanted to add. So I listened to the radio the other day. I heard there was a country song. I was listening to the country music, and the country song come on, and it was Lainey Wilson, and she just became #1 with a country music star. And I shared some other stuff with Anna earlier about the the movement in country music and women and how long it's taken and that kind of stuff. But she had mentioned on the interview that she was told when she comes to Nashville, it's a 10-year career. It's going to take you a minimum of 10 years to get to the radio. And so, like we just talked about a second ago, if you're in for that instant gratification, you're in it for the wrong reasons, right? And so no different than going to Nashville for country music, you're not going to make it in an overnight success, 1 in a million maybe, right? And so I just think that was such a good story of any kind of career you probably look at to become a professional is going to take you a long time. And so you have to put in the time, you have to learn the profession, no different country music or surveying, right? And so spend the time, get your teeth wet and take the 10 years it's going to take you to get a career, no matter what it is.
Absolutely.
So I think probably look at any profession across the board. It's going to take you a minimum of 10 years probably to get to any kind of professional level. So I had one guy tell me that, well, by the time I do that, I might as well be a doctor. And I'm like, well, we might think that. The point, I guess, for us is we need to demand better wages and we need to charge what we're worth. Absolutely.
And the people that lowball and people that do things for free and do things crappily, crappy,
that's a
whatever
new word.
the word is.
We're going to coin that.
Crappily. They're the ones that need to go away because they are not true professionals. They do not represent us, and they are not they're not charging or maintaining the professional standards that need to be held.
Yeah. I don't want to pick on like the national ALTA, firms, but I can tell you, like, I'll get a bid on a project that I had done recently. They'll send it out from one of the national firms, right? And then you go by a week or two later and somebody who had to start the project completely from 100% beat my price for even doing, a quote unquote update, which there's no such thing. We've had that conversation a million times, but to do an Alta that I've already done or just did, 2-3 years ago, somebody's coming from wherever, right?
So you're talking about like the Alta clearinghouse companies, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like
So,
Bach and Clark and
I wasn't going to name
not
names.
to mention
I'm not going to name the names, but
we can retract that, right, PJ?
But just the national firms, right? And they send them out. They're just as bad, looking for the bottom dollar, the cheapest to get the job done, and will not even have the relationship to the guy who just did it.
So you guys are getting ahead just a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. All good stuff.
I'll talk about it again then.
I thought you were supposed to be the voice reason. Now it's me. Okay, I see where this is going.
Sorry.
All right. So before we get to that, we've kind of touched on the evolution of the profession as a whole. A lot of on the technology side and stuff like that. Let's talk about the evolution of like the individual land surveyor. Like, what does it take nowadays to become a great surveyor? What do you think about that, Amanda?
That's a good question because I think we miss out so much now on you miss out working on a big crew, you miss out working in the woods, you miss out working with a total station and stuff. I still think those guys will be great land surveyors. I really do because the most I've ever learned have been from my interns, and that's a painful thing to admit. When your intern has to teach you something, but honestly, just because they're doing it differently and they're learning it differently does not mean that we are incapable of passing those skills along to them still, because now it's our job. And now we can't take the easy way out and say, oh, you kids, you don't know how to do this because you didn't do it the hard way. What difference does that make? It's still our job to help them learn. And so even if it's in a different way, in a different manner, I think it can all be there. What it will really take is different mentors and a variety of mentors. And that's why I love that guy over there again, because you cannot just listen to one person your whole career and think you came out knowing everything. That's the danger sometimes of people that work for their family only, their father or their uncle only, and then never get exposed to a different viewpoint. And I think multiple viewpoints is what will help this generation of surveyors.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I'll go back a step and just say from the late 90s into the 2000s, where I work for a large utility firm, and there was a huge pushback to go from the hub and tack to the 60D nail and feather.
Yes,
right? I mean, you can go back to as little as putting a point in the ground and what it should actually be in the ground. And the pushback that started back then, right? And so it doesn't
Mm.
matter whether it's a button pusher or the hammer that you use, right? We had to use a sledgehammer, 16 pound. You had to use a 16-pound sledgehammer, right? Because otherwise you weren't a man if you didn't use a 16-pound sledgehammer.
Yep.
And so the pushback was, well, you can't do that, right? You have to use a 16-pound sledgehammer. You have to use a 2x2 hub, and it has to be 12 inches long. And there's no way in heck I'm going to use a claw hammer and a 60 knee nail and feather to put the point in the ground. So it's been that, all the way for the last 25 years that I've been involved. So we're going to continue the fights with generation gaps until Kent and I and Amanda, and we're all, as the 20-year-olds come up, we're still going to have our own fights that, things should be done differently. So it's, that part's never going to go away.
And that's good. That's good though. I mean, that's we want that. I mean, and Amanda mentioned as well, like she learns from her interns,
absolutely.
Because that's a whole different perspective from a whole different generation. And I think where we get in trouble as like the older generation is not giving those folks the time of day and listening to them.
100%.
That's when things kind of go awry.
The most ridiculous thing that has ever happened to me was that my intern came from New Mexico State. He was a great kid, and he came and I was still using cables with my TSC2 or something. You know what I mean? These stupid cables to transfer data. And he was like over there with his dongle, like just plug it in. It would be great. And I was like, ah! And it was so ridiculous that I was that person that couldn't just, you know what I mean, use the Bluetooth and use the dongle. And that we as now getting old, the older generation need to always keep that in mind, that they can teach us. So
100%. And then going back to your question about what does it take to be a surveyor, and I think it's evolving constantly, and I think it's becoming more of a tech position more than it's the manual labor position. And so we need those STEM careers. We continue to push the STEM careers and realize that it's the mathematics, it's the tech side, it's the drones, it's the Pix 40s, it's, you hate to say it, how much, drafting is done on a computer monitor now for a project, right? And as opposed to necessarily picking up the points. And so it's definitely more of a high tech position that we got to continue to push in the personnel that we're going to bring in is going to be that much more tech savvy.
Totally agree. Wasn't there a state recently that like chopped out like advanced mathematics? I don't know if it was like New Hampshire or something like that from the curriculum. That's not going to help us hearing stuff like that. And I mean, our education's been going off on, I can go off on all day on this, but our education system is freaking pathetic. There's no doubt about it. A great example of that is, I've probably shared it before when Big Shoots and I administered like 80, the CST, the Trickstar exam, Trickstar exam, like 82 high school seniors. And I think 3 got over 75% on it or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
So my Trickstar story, I have a 13-year-old who was not eligible to win it. Yeah. But he scored 100%. What? In 9 minutes.
Your son?
No, it wasn't my son.
Oh my God.
But he still works for us. He works for me in the summertime, but now.
So what's his background? This is a great conversation. What's his background?
It's a great conversation. He's going to school in New York for robotics. But
wow.
I jokingly, the other day, he's in his dorm room right now and he's finishing up classes, but I jokingly said, I think you really should, finish a career in surveying and let's just make robotics a hobby. Yeah. And that kind of stuff. And then you literally like 20 minutes later, he's like, I looked into the FS and the PS exams, and as one of my summer classes, I'm going to kind of do a study on what it's going to take and do a whole write-up on that kind of stuff. So I'm pursuing him to try to become a surveyor rather than a robotics engineer. But
nice.
It's hard. He's been with us he's interned for me over the summers since he was 14 years old. So.
Wow. So, I mean, but again, he's the exception to the rule. Absolutely. That's amazing. It's amazing. And I'm still curious about, was he just naturally intelligent? Like he just math. Yes. I mean, he just gets it. You know what I mean?
Super math guy. And then one other Trickstar story, I had a gentleman who didn't score well, but he come up and asked for an internship because he wanted to kind of go in civil engineering and environmental. And so he worked for us for 3 or 4 summers and then went and got his environmental engineer out of UNR and then just recently got his master's. So all in environmental engineering, but I couldn't convert him. But
interesting. So before we get off like the mentoring topic, which
Yeah.
is absolutely huge in our profession, no question, I'd like to give people an opportunity to kind of highlight, those people that have made an impact on their career. So Amanda, why don't you tell us a little about who the folks are that really impacted your career?
Don Edgington, I worked for him he was the first PLS I worked for after graduating. And we had a remote relationship kind of before remote was really a thing. It was in the early 2000s, and he was a PE and a PLS, and he taught me a lot about patience and about taking a deep breath and not forcing things. And he's still a dear friend. And the other one I had was Dominica Van Coten. I worked for her. She's now the chief cadastral surveyor for the BLM. She's the only female to have had that job.
Wow.
And I got to work for her for a number of years in Alaska. She did something really funny. We never realized who we are generationally until we can look back a few years later. And they had a job on the Lucian chain, and I got a call, and those guys asked me to cook. And I wasn't the only one they asked to cook, but there were several people. They said, well, we already had all the surveyors filled up, but you can come cook. And so this is a girl from New Mexico, and my only goal in life is to travel, is to see shit. And so my goal is to go out to the chain, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go because I might never get to go out to the chain again, to the Aleutian chain. And Dominica, so I sent her the email, and I can hear her yell from across the building. And I go, oh no, I don't know what I've done, but this is the only time I ever made her mad. And she comes over there and she's so mad, and she goes, Amanda, if you do this, I will be so disappointed in you. She said, do not do this. And I said, okay, and then internally I was like, I don't know why she's worked up. I don't know why she's mad, but I'm not going to do it because she's telling me not to, and of course I didn't do it. I probably was there 10 years after she first got there. And I don't know the things she must have went through. And for me to have possibly even taken that as a thing to do was something she was probably working against. And so it was really neat and naive of me to be able to go, well, I'll go cook. I don't care. You know what I mean? I just want to go to the chain. But I really respected her for standing her ground and saying, no, don't do this, Amanda. There's a reason, and don't do it. And that kind of relationship, now I know why.
Right.
Now that I'm 40 and I've had more experiences and I'm now her age, now I know why she says, no, Amanda, don't go do that, because it would be a step backwards.
Exactly.
So those are two of my greatest mentors.
That's cool.
Like her perspective was like so ahead of her, the times, I guess.
Well, like she said, she'd already gone through it, right? And she was trying to keep you from undermining your position and where you were trying to go.
It blows my mind.
And she was the first woman probably to work in the field in Alaska. She was probably one of the first, and she was originally from the UP. And and I don't even, she never told me the things she went through, but for me to do that would have been a step back for us all, Absolutely. But I still never got to go to the chain. So I'm just gonna go.
Now you gotta go.
Wow. So why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's been this way for so long? Is that, again, does it go back to being a generational thing? Like women, their places in the kitchen or whatever, you know what I mean?
100%.
Is that what it boils down to?
Some of it is monetarily. Some of it has to do with money, because I worked at another large firm in Anchorage, and the gentleman there flat out told me, you will not go out in the field because it will cost us more money, and it will cost us another hotel room. It'll cost us,
interesting,
and the bottom line is those guys want to make money. And so at the time I didn't take that personally either, but in hindsight, I was like, that was really, really crappy. You know what I mean? Why do I never get to go in the field because I'm a female? That's on what planet is that fair? Because it's going to cost y'all more money to buy another hotel room when otherwise you could stick two men in the same room. I don't know. That's just one. If you all have any other ideas,
and it's a form of suppression, really. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you think about it, it's like unbelievable.
And it always gets back to money on that end too, because if we're always stuck either being teachers or whores, how dare you get a real job and make some real money and can actually buy some property and be independent, because then you're not under somebody's thumb at that point, So but that's my 2 cents on feminism. So
Well,
again,
yeah.
I went too far, but
No. I was going to say a lot of the mainstream media back then, right? I mean, 50s, 60s, 70s was pushing that kind of stuff. And so I don't think, we're getting away from that to some degree now, but.
And I mean, I don't think it's just serving. I think it's like a
Oh, yeah, no.
societal thing.
Absolutely.
Over the
100%.
last like 2 to 3 years, let's say, it's like there's just been this huge movement. Let's face it, which is great. It's just, man, oh man, now we have to like make amends for all the mistakes we've made in the past and the way we've handled things. And again, we're not going to change overnight, but we gotta. I don't think we got to put that behind us and move forward. To a certain degree. To a certain degree.
yeah.
To a certain degree. So, again, the future of the profession, I mean, it definitely is not without its challenges. And this, I guess, and we're going to talk about some bad things, but we're going to put a good spin on it.
All right.
So, we talk about these challenges all the time, but the thing is, what are we going to do about it? Thinking outside the box, what more can we do? And bottom line is, whose responsibility is it? And, I asked like you and Amanda to send, 5 or 6 things that you're most concerned about. So, and it's the same thing we talk about all the time. So I'm just going to blast through these real quick.
Sure.
Of course, public awareness, we've been horrible as a profession about promoting ourselves. So we're behind the 8 ball there. Aging profession. Of course, I
100%.
continue to bring up the average age of a licensed land surveyor like every day, unfortunately. Mentorship. Huge problem. Sounds like the 3 of us have been very, very fortunate to have had great mentors, throughout their professional career. Deregulation. It's a conversation that's being brought up more and more. Not having a national standard for licensure. That's a big one, I think. That's a big one. And that kind of ties into immediate gratification. We touched on it earlier about it. It takes too long to become a professional surveyor. And we mentioned the whole 10-year commitment. Well, as far as the 10-year commitment goes, in that video that just surfaced, at least for me anyways, when you guys shared it about that, that guy in Florida talking about why he got out of surveying.
Yeah, it was posted March of 21.
Was? Yeah. So it's recent.
Yeah.
He's not wrong in a lot of ways, some of the things he's talking about, and the whole 10-year commitment. Again, I think it's a generational thing. Folks coming out of college right now or high school or what have you. Are they looking at like a 10-year commitment? And you mentioned the example of like a female in Nashville, right? 10-year commitment. Well, if she makes it through the 10 years, she's potentially making millions of dollars. Okay. So that's worth that commitment in a lot of ways. A doctor, an attorney, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year after that 10-year commitment. And Amanda, you mentioned it, for surveyors to make a 10-year commitment and make $100,000, $120,000, whatever. Is it really worth it? Do you want to put 10 years into that? Again, we need to be elevating our worth. We need to be paid for what we're worth, I guess is where I'm going with that. And I don't know how we change that, honestly. In my opinion, I'm going on a rant now. There's two camps for surveyors. There's the professional surveyors, and quite frankly, there's like the non-professional surveyors. They're surveyors, they're licensed, but they're really not professionals. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
And that's where we get into that discussion about it's not the surveyors in the professional camp. It's the surveyors in the non-professional camp that are like selling their services for pennies on the dollar, just to make ends meet basically, but they're bringing down the entire profession with them. I don't think you see that happening with architects and engineers and attorneys, if you want to go to that level.
And Richard, my husband, just pointed out to me this morning that that's why the original Land Surveyor Society was formed in Alaska in the 50s, was because of that problem, because of the people that were given the profession away and doing things for free and not being responsible. And so have we solved that problem?
70 years later?
No.
70 years later.
We're still doing it.
We're still talking about it, right? Oh, what have we done? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's like a microcosm of here I go. Like a lot of state organizations, okay? Like it's the same thing. A lot of these state organizations are talking today about things they were talking about 25 years ago, and nothing gets done. Because these organizations are like so bureaucratic, and nothing ever gets done. It's so frustrating.
But it goes to the legislative session, though. We can maybe try to bring to the state boards our concerns, but then they get hung up in the legislative sessions, and or finding that person to sponsor the bill, or and that kind of stuff. And I think that's where we're having some of the red tape. We're all passionate, of course. I jokingly say there's 10 people in every state that are super passionate and do the work of all 300 or 400 people, right? And
Yep.
so there's those 10 people. You send out emails, you send out, asking for input, and everything's a bird chirp. And so it always comes back to, well, it's the 10 people and it's only their voice, but they forget about the emails that we always send to them. So, but again, some of that red tape gets stuck, I think, at the legislative sessions, or finding the people to kind of support the bill. So it's getting the relationships on the government side, I think, is in working with the state associations, working closely with the state boards, and then working closely with, lobbyists that will get it introduced to your state legislative sessions.
Sure. And
go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just going to say, the problem is, and you're exactly right. I mean, you got like 10 people doing 90% of the work, right? And that's like, I guarantee it's the exact same thing in pretty much every state.
Sure.
But man, oh man, those 10 people get burnt out and we're in trouble.
Yeah, burnout and angry and
frustrated and no doubt. So Amanda, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Now I forgot. No, but the problem sometimes too is like, sometimes I feel it in SPS is I wonder what regular surveyors need from us too, and are we meeting those goals? And that's something I would like to call out on your listeners too. If they follow me at Amanda the Surveyor on Instagram, I would love to hear what surveyors need from their national organization, because sometimes I just don't know sometimes if we're doing what they need, and that's what I would like to hear from them about.
I'll talk on that one. So I'll actually just, kind of put it out there and say, respond to an email when somebody sends it to you.
Yeah.
So I try to get a couple of NSPS. I asked Amanda and a few NSPS people to come on Mentoring Mondays and talk about the CST program and to talk about Trigstar. Amanda, being a past board member on CST, she, immediately responded, "I'll do it," and never heard another word.
Right.
On the Trigstar chairman, I've yet to hear a word back. So we'll start with responding to emails.
Sure.
Some of I wrote the article last fall and it published in the Nevada Traverse. I'm the editor of the Nevada Traverse, and sent a few emails to NSPS to just get input on it. And it took, I think, 3 emails to get a response back. And then it was told, it was kind of politely said, we wish you do not run that article. And
that's the one where you did like all the analytical data and stuff like that.
Yes. About
alarming information, by the way.
Exactly. And I was asked, they kind of, politely said, "We hope you don't run this article. We can't tell you not to, but we don't want you to run it." And so we'll start with those two. And I was going to try to play the nice guy, but those 2 items for me are touching points. Like, we're not getting the response back from the national associations. Right. And so it goes back to what we talked about earlier about being, trying to push that national voice. And I was recently on the NCES podcast, which hasn't released yet, but same type of situation in that it's getting all the people in the room together to come up with that national, and it was just talked about last week, right, with Steve, and getting all the people in the room together to create a national licensure. And so those, for me, those are my first couple of like sticking points on the national level. And I think that's, and CST, if we want to, those are a couple good ones, but use the CST as stepping stones into the LSI or the FS, and then use it into a stepping stone into the PS. Let's work together from NSPS through NCES. The CES or the CST exams will get you practicing how to take an exam, and then lead it as a stepping stone into the FS, and then lead it into a stepping stone into the PS.
I totally agree.
Exactly.
I'm a huge proponent of this DST program. I think it's awesome. I think it could be awesomer.
Yep.
Honestly,
it could be gooder.
It could be gooder. Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, exactly. Amanda, I'm sorry. What else did you want to add to that?
No, thank you, Trent, for sharing your concerns. And I'm sure that can be very frustrating. Especially when you don't feel like you're being heard. That's incredibly frustrating. And I hope to take that back and hopefully we can respond in a better time. That's disappointing.
And here's my concern, honestly. I mean, and Trent is a very influential person when it comes to surveying. And if he is being, quote, suppressed. I mean, with these guys, like, just like an everyday surveyor, if they've got a concern and they send an email to NSPS, whatever, they're not getting answered. I mean, what the heck's going on there? That's not right.
Just go to the Field Crew Facebook forum.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Talk about that all day.
You'll hear it all there.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
but no, I mean, I think NSPS is in a position. I don't know. I mean, I think they're kind of like at a precipice at this point, to be honest with you. I mean, we have a lot of serious concerns, and if these things are not addressed properly, I don't know what the future of the profession is going to hold. I have no idea. I mean, I might have 10 years in me. I don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully, the profession is still needed 10 years from now. But the talk of like deregulation and stuff here. I'm not patting myself on the back, but there was talk of deregulation for surveyors in Arizona, 2 years ago, right? And the surveyors in Arizona have like no voice whatsoever, basically. So, I mean, I went to meetings with the engineers and the architects and their boards to basically ride their coattails so that, the surveyor voice could be heard, but it was through their organizations. And I mean, thankfully, surveyors didn't get deregulated, of course. I think they did deregulate like the geologists. But those conversations,
Landscape architects.
Yeah, and landscape architects. But those conversations aren't done. I mean, they are going to continue to happen. And I personally think that NSPS needs to be more involved in those conversations. Like if that topic comes up in any state, NSPS needs to be jumping, like have a representative there or something, whatever. I don't know what it takes, but as a national organization, I just think that NSPS needs to represent the everyday surveyor a little bit better.
We all get the news and views emails, right? And there's things working behind the scenes, but we definitely, in that relationship that is being created with NSPS and NCES and trying to create that SCORE initiative, create that marketing effort. Again, we talked about it on the NCES podcast. They've been around for 100 years and we're still, just like we talked about earlier, we're still fighting the same thing from 100 years ago that NCES is doing. And so we got to stop kicking the ball down the road and get in a room together and start to really strategic plan and what's going to happen. And it's not going to change in a 5-year plan. It's got to be a 10-year or 15-year or 20-year plan. But
there's got to be a plan.
There has
first
to
and
be
foremost. I mean, we got to get to that point first. And I mean, I'll take it one step further. I mean, unifying and collaboration. I mean, those are things that we need to be focused on as a profession. And we could even take it one step further. And you mentioned, Steve Slesser from the last podcast. We had some off-air conversation with him, and there are some opportunities for like some global collaboration because the issues that we experience here are not uncommon. I mean, it's like a global pandemic, to be honest with you, as far as profession goes. Everything that I just mentioned earlier about public awareness being a problem, aging profession, it's not just in the States. No. It's everywhere.
Yep. And then, and then that's something we've created with the Mentoring Mondays, right? You have that nationwide Zoom meeting that we have. And it's great to have people from Maine to San Diego and Orlando to Alaska. So we've got the whole 4 corners covered, and
for sure
it creates that great conversation.
And embracing what one another are doing. That's what I love about, you guys, you've embraced each other and you lift each other up, and I love that when there's that kind of camaraderie and, this is not a competition on who can do the most or be the best or, it's just not. We all are in this together, and one organization cannot do it all. We have got to help one another. And that's what I would like to see more of too,
Yeah.
So.
And one surveyor can't do it together, right? I mean, I've talked about it, having a Rolodex of surveyors who, when a client calls you can't get the job done. You need to help them and,
for sure,
and have a Rolodex of friends that you can pass on and say, I can't get to it, but here's 3 other names that hopefully can get to you. And if those 3 can't, call me back and I'll give you 3 more. Right. And it's having that network. It's that national network. And even from the Mentoring Mondays, I had a client who is a friend of mine out of Reno. He needed some stuff in North Carolina. So on an email, I'm in the chat, I'm like, who's got a firm in North Carolina that can help one of my clients? And so it's creating that national network that we can help our clients who are in turn going to create a better, outlook and I guess for the profession.
For sure. And anybody out there who's afraid to do that, it's going to come back to you tenfold. Trust
100%.
me. Yeah. I mean, it's the whole give to get thing. I mean, I know Trent lives by that. I live by that.
Yes.
And if more people would live by that, I mean, it works.
100%.
It works.
100%.
Oh man. So we backed Amanda into the corner.
Sorry.
Well, you got anything else to add to that part of the conversation, Amanda?
I will say that NSPS is probably in a phase of transition. Kurt Sumner is retiring soon. We don't know exactly when that is, but that will be a huge loss to the profession when he goes. He has devoted his life to that organization. And there's growing pains with any organization. I'm not here to defend or say they do things perfectly all the time, because absolutely not. None of us do. But there are good people over there at that organization that care a lot. And hopefully as we travel through this with Kurt and his retirement, there'll be somebody else that can kind of fill those shoes. And I'm looking forward to seeing who that might be, So I think there's a lot of people with a lot of enthusiasm out there, and that it'll be competitive. I hope that it'll be competitive for that position. And we're all looking forward to seeing where it goes with the national organization. And I hope that we are doing some good. We're not perfect by any means, and I'm not the only representative there, but there are good things that happen for sure.
Well, and just recently celebrated 40 years, right? I think it was May 2nd.
Yes.
Is my post, right? So just 40 years into it, and we still, we still have learning curves, and and that's just that's what happens when you have a changing of the guard. Literally, every 12 or 24 months, you have different personalities that are going to want to run their ship that way. And it goes back to the conversation we just had. It's not a competitive thing. It needs to be collaborative.
Yeah.
And work together,
no doubt about
as
it.
100% team. So
for sure.
Yeah.
That's changing of the guards. Kurt is going to be sorely missed, and we wish him nothing but the best. But hopefully in its replacement, we pick up some young, energetic person that's going to kind of carry the torch that Kurt has been pushing for so long. So,
yep. Outside of being young, Kent Grow 2022.
Kent Grow 2022. Perfect.
I don't fit the young category, but outside of that.
But you're on the lower end, the lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah. I just raised the average age last week.
We're not on self-promotion. Same with self-promotion.
Yeah.
This is your podcast, so you can do what you want.
That's right. Exactly.
Sound like a shameless plug to me. Don't get used to it.
No, I think I got a running mate over here to my right. Oh man. But that's awesome. Really good conversation. What keeps you motivated, Amanda? I mean, what are you most excited about?
Health insurance. You want me to be honest? I'm 40. I need health insurance. No, actually, that's not too far from the truth, because in 2008, my husband and I both were running our own companies, and and after Obamacare hit, we couldn't afford to have health insurance for ourselves, let alone our employees. And so he was getting sick. My husband was getting ill, and I was like, I got to find a job. I got to get some health insurance, and we had a big company in Alaska, but I actually took a pretty low pay scale. I took a pretty low end job at the state of Alaska at the DOT, just so we'd have health insurance. And then that kind of motivated my work at the Corps of Engineers as well, because you cannot beat federal health insurance. And thank God I did, because it saved his life. So yeah, all kidding aside, health insurance at this point.
There's got to be something more than that, though. Come on.
Oh, there is.
There's got to be kids. There's got to be work.
I think I love the work still. I love the problem solving. Somebody told me the other day, you're a giant puzzle solver.
Yep.
And I was like,
it's true.
Aren't I?
Yep,
and I think when friends and acquaintances to me, come to me and they tell me their problems, and they have this thing going on, and I'm like, and then they're like, how did you do that so quickly? And I'm like, that's what I do for a living. I fix things. You know what I mean? I put things back. I give them to you whole. I put them back together. As far as the engineering or the boundary stuff or any of it, it's one big puzzle. And to be able to help, that is really what is great, because working with great engineers that like your help, that's wonderful. So
You touched on something there that I was just putting some thought into, and that is like how gratifying this, being a surveyor is. And, I know like the younger generations are looking for that immediate gratification, I guess, when it comes to it. But I mean, if you're a surveyor and you take it seriously and you're a professional, it's gratifying every day. Like I literally, I mean, I feel like I'm gratified every single day, and I love solving problems. And it may not be a survey problem, it might be a personnel problem, it might be a management problem, whatever. But you are constantly solving problems, and if you get off on that, it's fantastic profession.
So two things for me. One is as a surveyor, you're protecting someone's biggest asset, right? Whether it's their personal property or it's an industrial complex that's worth millions of dollars. You're protecting somebody's portfolio or their largest asset that they're ever going to own. And so that for me is one of the best ones. And then for me, from the side point as a business owner, the best thing for me is when one of my employees goes and buys a house. That's the best thing in the world. So you're taking care of them. You've provided them a career, and you're paying them well enough that they can afford a house. And so for me, every year we have 2 or 3 employees that continue to buy houses. And so for me, the best thing in the world, what motivates me is taking care of the employees and allowing them to buy a house. That's awesome, right? And then it's crazy.
There was a great TED talk about this along these lines, and my husband found it, and she was from Denmark. And she talked about the way to change people's lives in really, really struggling countries, really, third world countries, is to get a land tenure system and to get surveyors. Because without a survey and without a piece of property and without something to protect, somewhere to grow, somewhere to have a home, somewhere to do all these things, and then eventually, the land tenure to tax it, you will never get people out of abject poverty without it. And I think that's why we're so appreciated in third world countries. It's the one survey I did that was probably the most gratifying was a woman in Gila, New Mexico. I'm so glad he knew how to pronounce Gila. She had got divorced from her husband.
He Googled it. Let's be real.
Who was an attorney. And she got 2 acres in the divorce, and it was like a 13-acre parcel. Nobody would return her phone call because she was a poor woman and she probably had no damn money. And so no surveyors would return her phone call. She was dating one of my drunk uncles and my drunk uncle, Charlie.
You got one of those too?
Call Amanda. Oh yeah. Call Amanda. She'll survey it for you. And so of course Amanda shows up. And this woman is bawling. She lives out in her little camper trailer out there in the middle of nowhere on the river there, and she just wants her 1 acre. And so I'm like, okay. She goes and makes me tea, and she like makes me breakfast and does all this stuff. She goes out and digs up the can with the cash her daughter sent her, so she can get her 1 acre from her divorce. And without a surveyor, she was never going to get her 1 acre. And Dawn Edgington and I did it, and in her divorce, it actually said she got 2 acres, and I was like, dude, you get 2 acres. We need to find 2 acres for you. And she was like, I just want 1. And so it was really, that's probably the most powerful survey I've ever done, because she had her 1 acre, you know what I mean? And I don't even know if she's still alive or anything, but she hugged me, and I don't think she'll probably ever forget that I showed up and got her acre. So,
and I'm such a softie, I would have done it for free.
I'm sure you would have. So
I did too, Trent.
There you
worry.
go. Good. Perfect.
She put her money back in her can.
I love it. I love it.
I want to keep that rolling.
Pro bono.
Yeah,
Perfect.
for sure. I want to keep that rolling because I've got a really good survey gratification story I want to share. But Trent, I'm sure you've got one. What do you got?
No, I do a lot. I do part of the article that was just written, girl in STEM. I've donated all of the surveying and everything that I could possibly do for, and then obviously Ryan's company, Leo's Aerotech Mapping, had donated all the aerial from topographic survey as well, and we did all the boundary survey. But I'm huge with the Girl Scouts, and so they were donated a massive bed and breakfast outside of Las Vegas. I did all the work for him, did all the parcel map for him. I do all that kind of stuff pro bono. We've done some stuff for the Boy Scouts. I've done pro bono, and then we had a Metro officer that was killed in Las Vegas, and the husband wanted to create a camp for underprivileged. And so she was on the radio, happened to be on the radio one day, you never know who's listening. Right. And so happened to be on the radio one day promoting her golf tournament to raise funds for the camp. And of course, I got a hold of her really quick and then donated all of that kind of stuff. So I'm anything, that kind of stuff I'll do all day long. So,
paying it forward.
100%
every chance you get.
Yep.
Here's my story. So I started, myself and Chris McDowell started a secondary professional organization in Arizona about 6 years ago called United Surveyors of Arizona. And we've grown it to about, 150 members, 13 corporate sponsors, blah, blah, blah. But one of the beauties of this is, a couple of years ago, we were contacted by a local organization that needed a survey for a cemetery for homeless people. Like when a homeless person dies, there's no next of kin, blah, blah, blah. So we did a pro bono survey for the cemetery and staked out the, the plots and everything like that. But man, talk about gratification. And then we just recently had an officer killed, a Chandler officer. Yeah, Chandler officer. And the organization, fortunately, because we've built it to what we built it to, we were able to make a sizable donation to the 100 Club in his honor, and it's just being able to do stuff like that in the name of surveyors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, gratification. That's something I never really thought about until just we've had this conversation this evening. Is that surveying is such a gratifying career.
100%.
Really is. No question. All right, Amanda. Let's see what else we got. I guess we're to the mantra question. Do you have a mantra that you live by? This is a big shoot question. I should have let Trent ask it, I suppose. But do you have a mantra that you live by?
I could ask it. It was only like 4 words long. So Shoots only gives me the long ones I have to talk about.
I think probably the cliche, just work hard, play hard. I think that's why surveying always appealed to me because, growing up in remote New Mexico, working with, I almost picked that hippies and cowboys song. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
Yeah, I like that one because I think growing up that way, we worked and worked and worked. And then on the weekend, you worked at the ranch or you worked at the farm. And then on Saturday night, you let go. You know what I mean? And you had a good time. And that's why Sister Golden Hair's appeals to me too, because it talks about Sunday and trying to get your act together on a Sunday, and then not quite doing it on Monday. But I think that's really, and it was the same way when I was in Alaska working for the BLM. We worked 610s and come Saturday, if we were near a town, we would go have a good time, and the camaraderie and the hard work and the pride is all tied together for me. And I think that's what's so appealing about the whole surveying profession itself.
No doubt. It's so funny you mentioned the lyrics to the song Sister Golden Hair. I never really paid much attention to it, to be honest with you. But today I actually read the lyrics. I'm like, I can kind of see why she picked that song.
Yeah. And along those same lines, I just recently, the Matthew McConaughey book called Green Lights, right? One of his little quotes in there, and he calls them bumper stickers or whatever, but it's along the same lines. It's called Earn Your Saturdays, right? So basically work your ass off Monday through Friday to earn your Saturdays. So
I can't remember the quote that I just sent you not too long ago. It was Matthew McConaughey one, remember? I sent it to you. I'm like, dude, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And you're like, Matthew McConaughey. I'm like, yes, how the frick did you know that?
It was,
he's got some great stuff.
My God. Read that book. Did you like it?
Oh, it was great. I've been on a huge audio kick. And so that would be, another one of things that maybe the national level could work on, right? NSPS or even NSCS or NCES. Work with the publishers. Let's get these surveying books out as an audio book, right? I mean, that's a totally different.
Oh, great idea.
It's a new learning platform that needs to be put together. And so if we can work with these publishers and get these audio books out, I mean, it's only going to help, boundary control and principles, or some of these, ones that are just Bibles to the survey profession. If we can get those out on audiobooks, let's start.
Great idea.
Yeah.
First we got to earn our Saturdays.
I love it.
Yeah.
Earn your Saturdays. That's my new mantra.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good one. I loved it. So he's full of he's what he calls bumper stickers in that book. So listen to it on audio.
I'm going to for sure.
It's
Is anybody getting paid by Matthew McConaughey for this?
No, sorry. What's that plug? Don't get used to it.
Producer Jake is.
We're good buddies.
No, it's worth listening to. Or reading, whatever your case may be. So.
Yeah, and he's got some great videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah,
of his talks and everything. Yeah, who knew he was such an inspirational force? But he really is.
He's been journaling for over 35 years.
Has he really?
Since he was 15 years old, and it's a phenomenal. And that's basically,
Yeah.
he went through all of his journals and basically come up with the first 50 years of his life. And that's what
Wow.
that Green Lights book is about. So
Amazing.
it's worth it.
Great.
I recommend it.
Amazing.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about, just to throw out there too, is finding your people in surveying, because I had a long talk with the guy from Walla Walla Cellars. He runs the college here. It's a world-class winery and school for people that are going to be winemakers. Anyway, he talked to me about he can spot the people he wants in his program and the people he doesn't want, because his is a very working class program. There's wine people and then there's wine people, and so he's on the working side of the wine people, that you're going to go get out in the field and you're going to cut some vines and you're going to get dirty. You know, this isn't just a tasting room kind of class. And his point was that you need to find your people and you need to hang out with those people, and then you need to embrace those people. And when the wrong person comes in the room, you don't have to be mad at that person, but their people aren't there. You know what I mean? And I've found that to be so true in land surveying, because when you're at the wrong company, or you're in the wrong room, or you're in the wrong group of people, it will be painful. It will be incredibly painful. And and that is okay not to fit in somewhere. And I don't think we do that enough as companies, is really think about the people we're hiring, or as individuals, where we're going to go to work, if we fit in there or not, because otherwise it's going to be a painful experience coming or going, you know, for somebody. And and I think that's important in this life, is to figure out where you fit in, and to call those your people and to stick with them.
So true.
I was going to say, there's one of the things we recently talked about on Mentoring Mondays is, in an interview, you know, basically find a company culture that fits you. Right. And so it's finding the company culture or finding the leadership that's going to fit you. Those are the questions that you need to ask in your interview when you're sitting on the other side of the table, and ask about what you do for your employees, or what you do for your employees' families, or that kind of stuff. Right. And find that company culture that's going to fit you. Everybody's looking for a body. We get it. You know, and I hate the word jumping ship, but sometimes there's a better fit for you at a different company, just like you talked about, Amanda. So
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
But it goes back.
And employees really have a lot of power now to decide that, you know.
but
No question.
But
an
employer, or such as myself, needs to create the company culture that someone will not leave. And so, you know, I've talked about it a few times, that we have 80% of our employees, 27 employees, and 80% of our employees are over 5 years. Right. So there's something about our company culture.
Doing something right.
There's something about our company culture that's correct.
And they're not going to leave for a buck.
Right.
You know, they're like, no, I got it too good. I got it too good here.
Yeah.
And that's what employers got to do better, because there's so many people jumping ship, because there's headhunters, and there's,
Correct.
I mean, we're getting paid so much money. I've seen guys on the private side right now trying to get into the government, though, because the pressure cooker environment on the private side. And then I'm kind of on the government side now, thinking, well, maybe I want to go back to the private. You know, I miss Patagonia jackets and, you know, long lunches. But then it's a lot to consider.
Yeah. 100%.
For sure.
It's
so I'm going to stake my claim right now.
Go for
PJ, Amanda, TK, you guys are my people. Just saying.
Sorry, Shoots. Sorry, buddy.
Well, Shoots is my people. He knows that already. Yeah. All right. So we got to wind it down here just a little bit. Trent's got to catch a flight. I got to get home to my wife. PJ's got to get to Chick-fil-A. Got a lot going on here. So Amanda, I mean, we've pretty much covered. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could talk about for hours, no doubt. But I've pretty much, you know, at least touched on the things that I wanted to touch on. Is there anything else that maybe we haven't talked about that you want to get out there?
No, I think we got to everything. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been refreshing. It's been a good time. I always appreciate people that don't mind hearing the truth. So sometimes if I get too passionate or make people uncomfortable, those aren't my people. So
take charge and don't.
Thanks for having me.
Take charge and don't apologize for it.
Absolutely.
And I just saw a tattoo when you. Is there a tattoo on your arm?
Yeah, it's a spork. So
Spork. All right, we gotta find out about that. I'm sorry, I just saw it, but now it's a spork, and I really gotta find the meaning behind a spork.
that's a story for another day.
All right.
So we'll have another.
Episode
We'll have a
2.
drink in Vegas, and I'll tell you all about it.
All right.
Oh, all right. I
There
look
you
forward
go.
to that for sure.
All right.
All right, perfect. No, thank you, Amanda, for being here and for, not being afraid to show your emotions and stuff like that. Kudos to you for that. PJ says it all the time. Our guests that are passionate or are willing to show their passion about things. Those are the best guests. So, no doubt about it. Another great episode. Value adding, friend making, of
100%.
course, no question. Trent, thanks for being here, man.
No,
really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me. Thanks for.
Love to have you guys back another
Yeah.
time for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Be sure to check us out at thegeoholics.com. Follow us on all previously mentioned social media outlets by searching for the Geoholics. Download not only all of our podcasts from almost everywhere, but also the Geoholics app from Land Surveyors United. Send us an email at info@thegeoholics.com. If you have any content ideas or would like to be a guest on a future show, we would love to hear from you. Last but not least, please support our amazing friends of the program like TK and Diamondback Land Surveying. Every chance you get, be sure to mention that you are a Geoholic for the VIP experience. 50% off all surveys at Diamondback Land Surveying. 1 week only.
Ends on Sunday.
Pay it forward. Add value, make friends. America. Sister Golden Hair available everywhere. Until next time, everybody, be safe and healthy.
Once again, thank you to our friends of the program, Aerotech Mapping Inc. at atmlv.com, Advanced Geodetic Surveys Inc. at agsgps.com, Bad Elf GPS at bad-elf.com, Cobb Fenley at cobbfenley.com, Cyanic Automation at cyanicautomation.com, Diamondback Land Surveying at diamondbacklandsurveying.com, Get Kids Into Survey at getkidsintosurvey.com. Land Surveyors United at landsurveyorsunited.com. Mentoring Mondays at mentoringmondays.xyz. Monson Engineering at monsonengineering.com. Parkland Community College at parkland.edu/landsurveying. Safety Apparel at safetyapparel.us. Tiger Supplies at tigersupplies.com.